Ephesians 6, 1-3. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, because this is right. Honor your father, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may have a long life in the land. The first word we're going to look at is the word obey. I've got 6 kids at the time, ages 1 to 17. I've 100% gotten this wrong. And here's why. They're not there to obey me to make my life easier, which I always thought it was. Like, this is great. They should be obeying me, and quickly and always. But the idea here is that they will learn to obey God quickly and without question, and know his person when the situation isn't clear. So they're learning this muscle memory of obeying. Obey your parents in the Lord, so that they will then obey God. One, you must be trustworthy. That's what God is. You must be patient. That's what God is. You must be fair. So this huge responsibility of saying, I need to teach them to obey out of love, obedience, and respect and trust, so that then they will obey God out of love, obedience, and respect and trust. He says, children, obey your parents in the Lord. What this is here, obey your parents in the Lord, because they're little believers. At least that's the goal. Like, we want them. My penmanship got worse. We want them to be little believers, that they will be growing closer to God and they will be become saved. He says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. That's our job, is to teach them to obey and to be a type of person that they can obey and say, well, if I can obey my mom, if I can obey my dad, then I can definitely obey God and I can trust him. This is great right here. When we talk about the word obey, obedience is situation and age specific. So if I tell my child, okay, go burn down this building, they should not obey. It's also age specific. If I have a child who's 45 and I say, do this right now, and that's something that's appropriate for a 10-year-old, well, it's not age specific and it's not situation specific. They shouldn't obey that. They're adults. They're grown. So it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, because this is right. So obedience is age specific. It's situation specific. Honor is eternal and it's fluid. Honoring, it may not be obeying, and a lot of times it's not obeying because that would not be appropriate, but honor is eternal and honor is fluid. And that's the child's job, to discover, how do I honor my parents when they're 50 and I'm 30? It's like, how do I do this? How do I still honor them? So the parent's job is to teach them to obey. The child's job is to learn how to honor, especially as they get older. And then we jump down here to the word promise. Obedience is not just to parents. It's an obligation to God. So we see, okay, I obey my parents, but I'm also obeying God. And obedience is an obligation to God, and it's his job to reward us. Now, here's the question. Based on how I'm obeying or honoring my parents, am I gathering rewards or am I missing rewards? He says, which is the first command with a promise? Am I obeying them? Am I honoring them? And am I doing it as to the Lord? So that it may go well with you and that you may have a long life in the land. Long life in the land. Now, in the land, we want to raise children that are good, sane, sober, moral citizens, that are good for the world, and that they make wise decisions. They don't put themselves in dangerous places and dangerous situations or around bad people, stupid places, stupid people, stupid times. Like, we want to make sure that they are making wise decisions. That's part of it. We want to make sure that they're benefiting their community as well, and that they're benefiting their church community, their friend community, all of those things. so that it may go well with you and that you may have a long life in the land. There is that you're a benefit to those around you. I think this might be my favorite verse, is Luke 2:52, talking about Jesus taking a college adolescent psychology class. It talks about Jesus. It says Jesus grew in stature and in wisdom and in favor with God and man. That's what we want for our kids. We want them to learn. We want them to grow healthy, and we want them to have favor with God, and we want them to have favor with those that they're around. This is the goal of parenting. So we stop and we say, okay, God, is it appropriate for me to obey my parents based on age, based on situation, not do I feel like it? Or am I at a place where I'm in the honor position? God, give me wisdom for how to treat my parents in whatever situation I'm at.